Hello, coaches, and welcome to iCoach Football. I'm your host, Joel Forsberg, and as you know, this channel is dedicated to helping coaches like yourself become more successful in both youth tackle football and youth 7-on-7. Today, I want to talk about 3 things that you should not do as a youth tackle coach. All right, and then I'm talking about anywhere from 2nd grade all the way up through 8th grade. I got 3 things you should just avoid. I've watched a lot of football, a lot of youth football over the years. For the past 9 years, I've gone to hundreds of games that I haven't been coaching in multiple leagues, and I've seen these 3 things play out over and over, and I feel bad for the coaches that don't know to avoid these 3 things. So I'm going to talk to you frankly today as a coach on things you need to avoid. Okay, here they are. Number 1, you've got to stay away from a heavy pass game. Now, this is coming from a coach who has just made a great career in youth 7-on-7. I've been very successful at youth 7-on-7. I understand the passing game. I understand how to exploit defenses. I love the passing game. However, there's a couple things that you don't have in tackle that you do have in 7-on-7. Now, you might be able to, maybe because you're in a certain league, you can get your 7-on-7 quarterback and your receivers. A lot of times you can't. A lot of times, like in our league, we do a draft, and everyone's trying to get those good receivers and those good quarterbacks, but it kind of gets broken up, and you might not get them. You might be a different league for your 7-on-7 than you are for your youth tackle. So those players might go to their local schools or their local areas and play for tackle, and you might not get them. Okay, but let's say you can. Let's say you could get all of your best 7-on-7 players. You got your best receivers. You got your quarterback, maybe even 2 quarterbacks. So Can you come in and win games with the passing offense, and still you're missing the most important thing? The most important thing is you just don't have time in the backfield at the youth level. The hardest thing in football at any level to do is to pass block, for offensive lineman pass block. It's just hard to learn. It's very technical. It takes a certain body style that's practiced a lot of just dropping back and pass blocking. So even if you have your shell, even if you have your skilled players, your receivers and your quarterback, you're not going to get the linemen. I mean, the linemen actually need to have more practice pass blocking than your receivers and quarterbacks do at catching and running routes and passing. Usually you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that time with these young players to develop them into pass blockers. And let's say you did. Let's say you had 3 of the best studs in your whole association, biggest, strongest, smartest linemen. Okay, you got at least 3 of them. That's hard to do. Okay, let's say you got 3 of them. You still are missing 2. Your front 5, your center, your guards, and your tackles, they all have to be on the same page when it comes to pass blocking. Like, they really got to know what they're doing, and they got to do it together. If you have 3 strong guys and 2 weak guys, those 2 weak guys are going to be exploited. Their defender's going to get around them, and the quarterback has no time. And that's like the number one thing I see. I go around and I see all these teams, and they want to pass, and they got guys running routes, and they got a good quarterback that can throw dimes, but he's got less than 2 or 3 seconds in the pocket. Because there's another thing you got to consider. At the younger ages, it takes longer for the receivers to get into their routes. So instead of like your typical 5-second, 3 to 5 seconds getting around, it could take 6 to 7 seconds for a route to really develop. And is all the football I've seen, there's just really not that much time in the pocket. You just can't get it at this level. So do I pass? Yes, I pass. But all my passes are coming out of play action, bootlegs, something like a halfback pass where it looks like a run, the halfback's running with it, and then he pops up and passes, or the quarterback looks like he's running it, and then he pops up and passes. So all of the most successful pass plays that I've seen at the youth level, they start out with some type of a play action. They start out with a quarterback rolling out of the pocket. This drop back, stand in the pocket pass, from 2nd to 8th grade, it just doesn't exist. I mean, it does. It just doesn't exist in your league. It's some magical, powerful league down in Texas that they can do that in 7th grade. But it's impractical. So what I'm saying is, divorce the heavy pass game when it comes to tackle youth football. If you have 10 plays, base plays, 2 to 3 of those should be pass plays that run off of your 6 to 7 main plays, right? So I do like a 1/3 ratio. Like 1/3 of my plays will be pass plays, 2/3 of my plays will be running plays. And those pass plays, and even though I have them in my book, I still only sprinkle them in, and only when I set it up, and only if I need it. Only if I need it. If the run is working and we're beating them up on the run, I won't ever pass. Why pass? Right? But if you can see that it's going to open up something, then go into the pass game. But certainly don't come out and make it part of your regular rotation to be passing the ball. It's just you're not going to, you might have some short-term success. You might even get some big wins out of this amazing but long-term, it's not going to pay off. Long-term, over the long haul, it's not going to give you the production that you're going to want. Okay? So pass. Get it out of your playbook, except for certain occasions. Number 2, trick plays. Let's get rid of the trick plays. Okay, I went down to my nephew's game down in Phoenix. I took my boys down there. He was in they were in the championship game. Went down there. I thought, I'm going to see some good coaching, right? It was a disaster. It was a disaster. First of all, they had this 5th grade. They had bunch left, bunch right, trips, quads, open, no back, zero backfield. I mean, it was just like they were trying to pass too much, and they were trying to do way too many trick plays. I figure out why they got to the playoffs. They had some great athletes, really good athletes, including my nephew, who could just scramble like crazy. And that's what they had to do. It was all scramble. The pass plays turned into scrambles. The running plays turned into scrambles. It was just running for dear life. And so one of the things this coach did is double reverse, single reverse, 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 reverse. Don't make your trick plays, your quarterback sneaks, your counters, your reverses, don't make those your bread and butter. Just like I talked about passes, they got to be snuck in right at the right time after they've been set up. But certainly don't run 5 reverse plays in a row, every one of them being crushed in the backfield because it takes too long to develop. That's what we witnessed down there. And it was sad because that's why actually one of the reasons I decided to make this channel is I want to help coaches. Like, I don't think they didn't know about football. I think they were just watching too much pro and they got too fancy. Offense needs to be hard-hitting, fast-paced, down their throat run game. Okay, then you can set up the pass out of that to expose. Like once they start crouching the box or they're jumping things because you're beating them up with the run game, bam, then you strike them with the pass. Okay, or the run game, they're over pursuing, boom, then you hit them with a counter. Okay, but don't come out with a counter for a counter's sake. Don't come out with a pass just because you want to pass. You got to set that up. Okay? Get rid of the trick plays. I have a quarterback keep that we have. I'm going to do another video on it. I mean, it gets 3 to 4 yards every time. It's a power keep in the middle, right? If it's a short yardage or short touchdown, we'll just blow that ball forward 3 or 4 yards. Can't stop it. All right? But that's not my bread and butter. That's on very unique situations where I can see that we can run it. They're not stacking in the middle. We only get short yards. Boom, we'll run it. Okay, so the next one, the last one, this doesn't have to do as much with play calling as it does just your preparation. Okay, you have to have more live tackling in practice. You have to. I know there's this trend going around now that says we don't want the kids to get concussions. We don't want them to get hurt. Let's back off on live tackle drills. We'll do like a little bit. We'll just pepper it in, and then we'll be done. And I see this happening in the culture of football where there's like this fear factor to do live tackle drills. right? And it stems from the whole fear of concussions and the whole fear of injuries and pressure from the parents, pressure from the associations. And you even see it in like a lot of the coaching books now. This philosophy is you don't have to do so much tackling. Just simulate it with the tackle ring, or simulate it with the tackle bars and all this other stuff, which I think is junk. I'm going to say it right out now. That stuff is junk. It is the hardest thing for a young kid or anybody to do, is to take their body and propel it through somebody else full speed. And you don't have to be violent to do that, but it does take practice and repetition. I had a kid that I played football with in college, nicest guy in the world, big smile, a math major nerd actually, but a nicest guy. But he could lay the boom. He played strong safety. I was outside backer, and I would see him come up, and I would get a front row seat to some of the most violent collision tackles, but perfect. Shoulder tackle, leverage, boom, drive through. But why could he tackle like that? Because he's learned he did hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tackles at a younger age, right? At the younger age, they're not running that fast. They got all this expensive equipment on. That's when they need to be tackling. That's when they need to be tackling and learning how to tackle and having dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of repetitions in that while they're young. And so I work in heavy live tackling in almost every other practice. And we'll do multiple drills. We'll do live drills. We'll do one-on-ones, open field tackling, and just really rep the tackling. Because it shows in the games. You go to the games, and I go to games and kids just can't tackle. They're running up, they're patty caking. It will lose games. That's why it's the top 3. You will lose games if your players do not have confidence in their tackle. And when you do these tackle drills, if they go and they just kind of whiff it, make them go again. There's no whiffing. There's no backing off. There's no slowing down. We are teaching them to propel their body with the head in the right side, with the shoulder tackle, leverage tackle, wrap, squeeze, drive, and accelerate through. And if you can do that over and over and over from a young age, by the time that kid gets to 7th and 8th grade, you got pure missiles on your hand, and they're not getting hurt. So when they do get to college, you got these fancy colleges. There's one here in Minnesota. They just never wear pads. They're like, we're not going live. We're not wearing pads. We're not getting injured. Well, yeah, you got 100 guys coming out for the team. And a lot of these guys have already tackled thousands of times from middle school through high school. So you got the luxury of doing that. And then they try to pass that philosophy down to us at the youth level or the high school level. Well, it doesn't translate, because you're getting players that have already had hundreds and thousands of tackle practices, and so they can go without pads. But you can't. But when they should be doing that is at the young age, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. They should be hitting a lot. And I have ran, 8 years now of practices, and with a heavy tackle emphasis, they're not getting hurt. You set them up right. They're just not getting hurt in practice, but they're getting that great hitting ability, and you'll see it. You'll see it in games. My defenses, they just don't miss tackles. They just shut people down because we're doing so much of it. So you're going to have to shelf that new age philosophy that you can't be tackling a lot in practice. They got these $500 helmets. They're little. They're not running fast enough to really destroy their bodies. Let them tackle. Make them tackle. Consistency. Live tackling in the drills, okay? Under control, and be smart about it. I'll take if I see a small guy line up against a really big guy, I'll flip him out. I'll say, hey, you get back there. So you're keeping an eye on your drills, and you're making sure that, they're getting their head, they're not getting their head across. I use, there's all kinds of tackling things out there. I might do a video on it, but smart tackling, live tackling often in practice. All right. You avoid, so the last thing to avoid that philosophy that you shouldn't be going live tackle that often in practice. You should be going every day in the beginning of the season to every other day at the end of the season. You should be doing some heavy live tackle drills. All right, those are the 3 things. You avoid those 3 things, and you will be winning games instead of losing games. All right, thanks, coaches, for watching. I'll talk to you later.